Hello everyone, and welcome once again to the Heir's Lair. I'm your host, Jonathan Taylor. Um, Earlier this summer, or at least as of the time of this video's release, I, on the occasion of the At the Time of That video's production, incumbent U.S. president's birthday, I decided to review a comedy novel, or comedy novella that focuses on his wife, the first lady. And now, several weeks later, given that the at the time of this video's production, incumbent U.S. Vice President's birthday is approaching, I decided I would do something very similar, namely look at a comedy novella that follows the Vice President's wife, whose official title is actually Second Lady. And that novel is, hold up just a moment, Forbidden Loveseat, a J.D. Vance and Usha novel by J.D. Boninger. I have to say the cover is not very great. Like it's a mediocre or sub-mediocre riff on the on the Animorph style cover, and really those work because they were dynamic, and somehow this image composition isn't dynamic, but whatever. That's a little beyond the scope of this video. In case you're wondering, yes, this is the exact same J.D. Boninger who wrote the who wrote the previous book I was talking about, the comedy novella following Melania Trump, and also, in case you were wondering, these two books are in fact within the same continuity, at least as far as I've been able to tell. That being said, it is somewhat interesting to see that this author prefers to talk about the wives of political figures rather than the political figures themselves. So that does have a little bit of a potential to be problematic. Aside from that, what can I say about this book in particular? Well, my impressions in summary are, when compared to this author's previous work, this book is, I would argue, more interesting to explore, to analyze. However, I don't really think that particular thematic depth really translates towards the book itself also being better. While it touches upon more aspects of like moral complexity and social commentary, it the book ultimately fails to deliver on the comedic potential that really that its premise and presentation really holds. So as such, I don't really think it is as funny as it could be. And given the way this book is put together, I don't necessarily know how many people would still be interested in it. So even though this isn't a bad book, I don't exactly know who the who the audience for that would be, or if there are, or who would be who would really authentically be drawn to it. Still, I would say that if you've read the synopsis of this book, it is quite likely you will find it. It is quite likely you will find at least some parts of interest. Some parts of interest within it. So go ahead and check it out. And now that I've covered some of my broad impressions, it's time I delved into some specifics. The plot of this book follows Usha Vance, the Second Lady of the United States, over the course of a few days at the beginning of her husband's term as United States Vice President. Maybe his first term, who knows? And over the course of these days, what makes these days notable is the fact that she finds herself having to adjust to a new role with new attributes, and therefore she has to figure out what exactly that means for her, as well as for the couple that she is in, for her and her husband, more specifically. while also contending with the fact that they have some level of personal frustration. And it is in order to deal with this particular level of personal frustration that that she decides to take matters into her own hands and delve into the transformation that that the book's cover somewhat hints towards. The plot of the book, all things considered, is actually pretty basic and straightforward. It's just Usha taking initiatives to to find and then deal with, manage the transformation that she has subjected herself to, that she is that she is undergoing in order to assure her own her own position, her own stability, and her own safety of mind within her current predicament. This book is also notable for for including a little bit more social commentary and really allowing the author to insert more of his grievances, primarily, or at least to some extent, by focusing on how primarily by, and really I'll say the most prominent of these these levels of social commentary is actually the disconnect between the United States voter base and the elected officials of the of the country. It is, and in that aspect of the book is simultaneously its most interesting and its most frustrating. This the social commentary of this book is like a half-finished connected dots puzzle, where Boninger is quite clearly capable of identifying issues and giving a strong presentation on what these issues are actually supposed to be, but he is either unwilling or incapable of actually putting together a more distinctive and more concrete critique of what is going on, and therefore this book doesn't really have what it takes to go to that next level, and therefore deliver a more engaging and more fully fledged point of contention. It is, however, interesting to note the fact that most of the social commentary of the book is actually covered by the female characters of this book, whereas the male characters are stuck primarily talking about more about comparably petty plot points or issues. So maybe this author isn't really as problematic as I may have hinted towards him being. When it comes to the world building, I have to say it is pretty basic. Functional, but still basic. It mainly consists of location descriptions, with the descriptions of the paranormal that are present within this book being really the most eye-catching part of it. And even then, the discussions of the paranormal aren't really anything particularly particularly mind-blowing or anything like that. It's really just a very stereotypical magic wand, like I make a spell and turn you into something. There isn't really any grander reveal about the connection to the cosmogony or anything like that. It's just it's just a plot device, but it is well integrated within the book, and it does what it's supposed to do. So I'm not gonna comment on it any further. What really sets this book apart, however, I have to say, and what really makes it distinctive, is its characterization. Because the author really went, I'm not going to say went above and beyond, but did a great job at really getting into the into the headspace of the characters, primarily of the lead couple that are who are also mentioned in the title, J.D. Vance and Usha. J.D. Vance gets less page time in this book than his wife, but even within the page time that he is given, he is rendered insufficient detail to allow him to gain a distinctive and noteworthy, a distinctive and noteworthy identity to him. Something that showcases, how he relates to himself and what it is that he values about himself and about his past, and why exactly that, and how exactly he draws upon that to um, uh, to establish his own distinctive sense of his personal identity, and also of his values. Also, and I know you're thinking about a certain elephant in the room when it comes to J.D. Vance, and yes, this book covers it, and it covers it quite effectively with a surprising degree of care and actually compassion. Come to think of it, it still makes fun of him, but it doesn't just but it's not just plop. It's really kind of digs into it, so to speak. Really, and really effectively knows how to couch the topic of its humor. Regardless, Usha, as I've already said, is the primary character of this piece, and as such, the readership gets to spend a lot of time in her head with her thoughts, and that time is very well spent, allowing the readership to get in touch with her past, with her activities, with her reactions, with her with her initiatives, with her thoughts, with her intentions, with her desires, and her own. I think I already mentioned initiatives, and it also showcases how it is that she values them, and exactly what kind of and exactly how it is that she views the system within which she lives, and according to which she and according to which she responds to the various situations that she is presented with. And I have to say that really allows her to come to life as a surprisingly strong character, all things considered. And that allows the two most impactful moments of the book, namely Usha's greatest triumph, as well as the surprisingly dark and dour ending that this book has, to very effectively stand out, and to really deliver the impact that they really ought to deliver. So it is, in that sense, very narratively effective, and that is primarily due to its characterization. Overall, while I will argue that this book has more conceptual complexity to it, the author unfortunately doesn't really have the finesse, the refinement, to really delve into to really effectively extract the comedic potential that this book would hold, and therefore I would argue, at least compared to its predecessor, it kind of falls flat a little bit more often. My final rating for Forbidden Loveseat is a 3 out of 5. And that was my review. Thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed it, well then please like the video, maybe even share it wherever you think other people will also like the video. If there is anything you'd like to add, either to the book itself or my review of it, that is what the comment section is for. And if you want to see when my next video gets released, well then please subscribe. And ideally also ring the bell, or do whatever else YouTube will ask of you in order to keep you notified. My books, the first of my own Heir to the Empire series, The Next Generation and the Path Not Taken, are available at various book retailers under their respective master links in the description down below. Right past my social media links, which I suggest you check out should you choose to. And given I am still trying to get my my third book released, I might just make some mention some headway I make in that direction on that on the previously mentioned social media. So you might have more reason to go ahead and check it out. I also have a second channel where you can hear me talking about whatever else crosses my mind, that will typically still be related to narrative analyses, but of works outside the print medium. So if that sounds like it could be of interest to you, then I suggest you go ahead and check it out. If, however, you want to hear more about my thoughts on the print medium and selected works therein, well, then I suggest you stay on this channel where, aside from an embarrassment of riches when it comes to book reviews, I also do book rewriting videos, writing advice videos, as well as miscellaneous other videos, mostly also connected to writing topics. So if that interests you, go ahead and check out my backlog. If none of what I've said grabs your attention, well, then I suggest you go ahead and do whatever you want the rest of your day, because it is your day after all. And yeah, that was it from me. So until next time, I am Jonathan Taylor, and this has been the Heir's Lair.